And often it's live and we get a thumbs up from Beth. So welcome, folks. We are excited that you're joining us this Tuesday at 7. It is the beginning of August in 2020, and we're talking with, you go by Chris Hahn,
Chris
right?
Hahn.
Chris Hahn.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a great conversation
Sure.
tonight. But we usually just kind of let people click on here. We encourage you to share. If you share this video, you could share it to a friend, you could share it to a group, you could share it to your entire friends list. There's a little button on the bottom, so if you're watching this live or recorded, just hit that share button. And everybody who shares it next week will put their name in a drawing for some autographed, and we'll give folks the opportunity. So these are some photos, and Chris is going to go ahead and autograph these as well. So these are some of your, what would you call these? Are these your?
Those are my mug shots.
Your mug shots. Love them, and these are pretty recent too.
Yeah,
huh?
not too bad. Yeah,
Nice.
I used to, when I first started off with the acting, I had hair.
Okay.
And then we'll get into a little bit later about how I had a brain tumor, and they shaved my head, and I had a perfectly round head. And I get more parts because I look like a tough guy. And that's the kind of parts I play with the wrestling and the fight choreographed background and stuff like that. In the stunt work, I usually play the bad guy, or I play the tough guy, or the bouncer, or the bodyguard, or whatever. So the bald head gives me that little bit of a meaner look.
So your headshots and your promo shots are out there.
All bald. All bald. And the nice thing about it is if I get picked up on a movie and I need hair, it's easy to glue down a wig onto a bald head.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than having to shave off stubble or a mohawk or whatever else I would have, I just keep it bald.
Good point. So tonight we're going to have all kinds of great topics.
Exactly. And plus there was a study that came out not too long ago that said bald men are the sexiest men. So, hey.
Well, I'll have to double. That's awesome. We're going to have a lively discussion tonight, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing this video. If you watched last week, we interviewed Paul Schultz from Taco Truck, and he and his team make parody videos and stunt videos, and they've got I'm not talking like 1 million, we're talking hundreds of millions of views.
That's
and
awesome.
His group they're witty, they're edgy, they've got some great stuff going on.
Sure.
And he often plays a role in his videos as well, but he walks around the streets of Ohio and people don't recognize him because he's so kind of covert, and his videos pass to the masses, through social media, really.
Sure.
And it was a great story. But we have a really fun giveaway, and somebody, whoever wins the signed object, should hold on to it, because Paul Schultz is gonna. Not only is he a big name now, but he's gonna be somebody to reckon with for years and years and years.
That's awesome.
But we're gonna start with that giveaway, and I always like to. So, anyways, the giveaway. You're gonna have a fun one with this. Paul Schultz.
Nice. A pair of underwear.
And he is autographed the Sharpie. He claims that for all the Slash Street Boys, that this is official memorabilia.
What was his? It was Jason.
I think it was Jason. He does the Slash Street Boys, which he and there's another group called the Merkins out of Akron.
Okay.
And they do this whole series, and what they do is they do the five.
Well, for
five
your
icons.
sake, hopefully they're not worn, because I see you handling them.
Yeah, they are. They are worn, but somebody's going to hold on to this.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyways, and if you check out Taco Truck. We're not talking about a place you pick up food. We're talking about the parody makers, and enjoy. So Beth, if you'll reach in there, pick the lucky winner, and
Not in here.
yeah,
All right,
she's holding.
I'm holding a poodle on one hand.
You want me to?
I got it.
You got it. And the winner of Slash Street Boy memorabilia is
Karen Murphy.
Karen Murphy.
Congratulations, Karen Murphy.
Congratulations,
You
Karen.
won a pair of male men underwear.
Karen has been
Oh, you think you know her?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
She's up in Michigan.
Oh, nice.
And she has been a supporter and somebody who shares out these videos. This is the first time she's won. So you've got some great memorabilia, Carrie. And she's going to completely love the whole parody and the whole comedy of that whole that memorabilia. So thank you guys for joining again. Everybody who shares this week, whether it's to one person or to the group or to their friends list, your name will be put in a drawing, and next week we'll have some Sharpie autographed stills from Chris. To start off every interview, I always start off with just a question. It's always a fun question, maybe an unexpected question. And the question that, as I was kind of looking through your stuff and your film history and what you've done over the years, the question that came to my mind is, if you could have a fight scene with anybody, this is somebody that could be live or even no longer living, a fight scene with anybody, who would that be?
That's an easy question. Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke is kind of like my favorite because he walks off the beaten path. And that's what kind of guy I am. I like to walk off. I don't want to be in the crowd. I want to be noticed. As a pro wrestler and growing up as a pro wrestler, they teach you that you want to be seen. Wear the loudest clothes, be the loudest guy, have the weirdest look to you. Always when you walk into the room, you want your presence to be known. So Mickey Rourke is kind of like that guy. So I love all his movies. He always plays the bad guy. He always plays the dirt bag, and that's the kind of actor that I'd like to be. So if I could have a fight scene with anybody in the world, and I would love to have a fight scene with The Rock, because he's kind of like my idol. But Mickey Rourke would be the guy that I would want to emulate, and I would want to have a one-on-one confrontation with.
Yeah. That's an awesome answer. That's an awesome answer. So let's think about kind of your early days, and I mean, and there's no definition to what that means. It could be grade school, it could be middle school, it could be high school, whatever. You can look back and you say, in those early days, you found yourself, I would imagine, going down two roads. One is concentrating on your fitness. And the other one is probably embracing creativity, acting, the placing yourself to be noticed. And talk about those early days.
Okay, so basically in high school I was always athletic. I played on a state championship basketball team. Was I any good? No, but I was on the team. I was the guy that would dive on the ball or dive on the ground for the loose ball. I was the guy that would undercut somebody to get him out of the game. So I was kind of like the Bill Lambier of our high school basketball team. And we won a state championship. And then I was also an honorable mention All-Ohio inside linebacker football player where I went to school, which was in Lexington, Ohio. And so doing that, I've always been athletic. My athletic ability got me through school, because if it wasn't for athletes, I wasn't the best student in the world. So I had to keep up good grades to be able to play sports. So obviously I kept up good grades because I wanted to play sports. When I got out of school, I wanted to play college football. But I didn't want to play college football at like Bluffton or anything like that. I wanted to play college football at like Florida or Alabama or somewhere like that. But I wasn't that good. I mean, I'm being honest with you. I wasn't that good. But I was always the kind of guy who was a showman. After I sack a quarterback, I do a dance and I talk a lot of trash. And my dad always said, you'd make a great pro wrestler. You'd make a great pro wrestler. So I went to Ohio State, and I went there for about a year and a half, and I just wasn't getting anywhere with it. I was skipping class, I was hanging out in the social lounge. But my mom and dad always taught me, and see, I was adopted, and I'll tell you that story as we go along. But my mom and dad would always say, you pay for your schooling for the first year, and the last 3 years we'll take care of the rest. Well, I was wasting my own money. So I thought to myself, what do I really want to do? My dad owned an exterminating business in Mansfield, and I worked with him in the summer and part-time. But I didn't want to be a bug killer. I wanted to be something where I was going to shine. So I went to the Monster Factory, which was a pro wrestling school in Marion, Ohio. Now, there was also a Monster Factory in Tampa, and there was a Monster Factory in Baltimore, Maryland. And my trainer was a gentleman by the name of Charlie Fulton. And Charlie was we used to work in the WWWF, which was Vince McMahon Sr. before Vince McMahon Jr. ran it. And he was an Intercontinental Champion and stuff like that. So I ended up going to his school and training for about 6 to 8 months. And then...
And you're how old at this time?
I was 20.
Okay.
20 years old. And my first match was against the Road Warriors as a squash boy, or a jobber. They used to call them jobbers. So I went to Rochester, New York, and I got the snot kicked out of me. But I got paid good. Mm-hmm. And then the next night we went to Erie, Pennsylvania, and I wrestled The Undertaker. And I got put in the body bag and the whole funeral procession and all this and that, and had a blast. And then they used to do their Saturday morning TV show, and then they did a Monday night Raw, and then they did Sunday night Heat. So you do a 3-day tour. And then we went to Pittsburgh, and I wrestled a tag team by the name of the Nasty Boys with a gentleman by the name of Ron Cumberland, who was my tag partner. And we got squashed by them too. But I just fell in love with the whole showmanship.
Yeah.
Being in front of the crowd. And it's totally different than being in front of a movie crowd, because if I don't do it right the first time, you would do it again. And then you do it again until you get it right. In the pro wrestling business, it's live. So you do it right the first time, and if you screw up, then you make somebody mad. And when they do it the second time, you feel it a little bit more. So I kind of fell in love with the pro wrestling. I did it for 28 years. And I wrestled under a character by the name of Johnny Paradise, where I used to come out and I was every man's nightmare, every woman's dream. I had the long blonde hair. I was a kind of an imitator of a Ric Flair-ish character, but and I always played the bad guy.
Okay.
And did that for 28 years. Wrestled, like I said, the Road Warriors. I wrestled Stone Cold Steve Austin. I wrestled Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I mean, and then I also wrestled on the independent level, where I held a couple lower tier belts. I wrestled in a promotion in Detroit, and I was the Motor City champion. I wrestled in a promotion called Ohio Valley, and I was the Ohio Valley champion. So on the lower levels, I was kind of like the superstar. On the upper levels, I was kind of like the squash boy.
Gotcha.
But you know what? I really didn't mind it, because I was doing what I loved to do.
Yeah.
28 years of professional wrestling was great. I mean, I had a lot of injuries and a lot of highs and lows, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
One of the highs is, like I said, even though it sounds stupid, getting beat up by The Undertaker. And you can see all this stuff on YouTube. You know, I got all my stuff on YouTube. You type in Chris Hahn, don't type in Johnny Paradise, because I put it under my real name. But
Johnny Paradise, is that why?
that was my professional wrestling name.
And so we see J.P. Hahn?
J.P. Hahn is Johnny Paradise.
Johnny Paradise.
Well, see, I used to have it because Chris Hahn, but I got hacked.
Oh, okay.
And someone really messed me up.
Gotcha.
So I went under J.P. Hahn, so it's Johnny Paradise Hahn. And so, yeah, that's how that became.
Got it.
But how I got the Johnny Paradise name was funny, because my dad and my mom were going to go on a cruise. And my dad was watching a DVD, a VCR tape of a place called Paradise Cruises, and the guy's name was Johnny. And he kind of put 2 and 2, and he said, oh, that'd be great. Even though my dad wasn't a big pro wrestling fan. He thought it was stupid. But I spent my own money. I got my own training. I got my own loan to get my training and stuff like that. So I did it all on my own. And my dad passed about 7 years ago, and he told me that he was proud because whatever I set out to do, I accomplished on my own. I didn't ever ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, I always, if I'm going to fail, I don't want to bring anybody down with me. I'm going to fail myself.
Yeah.
So like I said, I did the pro wrestling for 28 years. I had a good time. I got to meet some great guys, Shane McMahon, Vince McMahon, great people. I worked for a company called ECW, which was kind of hardcore barbed wire. I met a cat by the name of Sabu who lived in Michigan. We used to travel a little bit together. I went down to Atlanta and I worked for WCW, which was a big wrestling promotion in WCW, and wrestled the likes of the Steiner brothers and Sting and those guys, and had a blast. You know, I mean, yeah, I got beat up, and yeah, I was sore and stuff like that. But you know what? If it's what I wanted to do, then I had to train my body to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And to be able to last in it for 28 years and never really have any serious issues, physical serious issues, I was pretty blessed, you know.
And you wrestled The Undertaker.
Yes.
And you get put in a body bag.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
That was kind of crazy, because what he does is he does it's called the tombstone pile driver, and then he folds your arms across, and then he pins you. And then Pallbearer, which was his manager, would come out with the urn, and he would be kind of goofy. And they would roll you over and slip a body bag underneath you, and then roll you back and then zip it up. And he had all these henchmen that would lift you up above their heads and carry you down the aisleway. Well, what they didn't tell me was he was going to come up on the top rope and drop his leg across my throat while I was in the body bag. But he missed my throat and hit my face and kind of dislocated my jaw.
Oh, no.
And but you know what? You don't complain, because when you complain, then you don't go back.
Yeah.
So you just suck it up. And there was a gentleman in the back by the name of Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was a gentleman that owns ECW now. He kind of set my jaw back into place, which hurt worse than getting it knocked out of place. But basically, besides that, that was pretty much the only serious injury I really ever had. But because I actually got to work with solid professionals. I mean, those guys do it on an in-night. You can't wrestle 265 days a year and not get hurt and not know how not to hurt somebody, or you're not going to last long in the business. So getting to work with some of those guys taught you really quick how to be a professional, because if you went in there and you thought you know it all, you get your rear end kicked pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, I know professional wrestling is considered fake and put on, but there's ways around that. And if you're going to go in there and you're going to think you know it all and you're going to be a show off, you're going to get put in your place real quick. It doesn't matter how big you are, you know.
And it's a whole theater.
Yes.
with that takes incredible feats of flexibility, flying,
Right.
stunting,
Stunt
all
work.
those things that right?
You're exact, 100% right. So when I got out of the wrestling, because in 2014, in 2012 is when I did my first movie. So I was doing, and it was called Axe Giant, The Wrath of Paul Bunyan. And the gentleman who directed it, his name is Gary Jones. And Gary Jones has done Xena Warrior Princess. He did the first 2 years of Hercules with Kevin Sabo. And so I went in there. He was looking for a big guy that could have the stamina to wear an 85-pound prosthetic suit.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it in the summertime. And so I went in there and I kind of gave him a demonstration of falling and rolling and how flexible I was and stuff like that. And I got hired on. Now, did Axe Giant pay a lot? No, but it was my foot in the door.
Yeah.
You know? And then, so I did Axe Giant, and then I also stood in line for 4.5 hours to be an extra in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And when I did Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I was in the movie for maybe 2 seconds. But it was just being around the professionalism of a major motion picture that you just sit back and you absorb it and just take it all in.
Yeah.
And when the movie came out, I was so excited to see myself on screen, and you only see yourself for maybe 2 seconds. Don't blink, you know?
Yeah.
But it was an experience that I'll never forget. And then Axe Giant came out, and to be a star on a sci-fi original network, even though you didn't really see my face,
You were there.
I played the monster that lived in the cave that drugged people up and hacked them up and all this and that. And it was a blast.
Yeah.
Now, did I understand? Because you know, as well as I know, they never shoot a movie in sequence. So when they were shooting this, they shot all my stuff in 7 days. And how he says, he put an X on a tree and he says, swing your axe to the X. Hold it, wiggle it, pull it out. Swing it to the X. Hold it, wiggle it, pull it out. And then when they put it all together in the movie, you see what he does, and it just blows you away. So by doing that, I got the movie bite. I got the bit by the business.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
love it. But so I did Axe Giant, and then I was still doing the professional wrestling. Well, May of 2014, I got thrown out of the ring and hit my head on the steel railing around the outside. And I started getting all these symptoms.
Yeah.
Dizziness, passing out, real nasty migraines, and I thought it was all concussion based. So my mom, let me go back just a tad bit. I didn't say I jump
yeah.
around a little bit, but to go back a tad bit. in 2000, I think it was 2012. No, 7 years ago, 2013. I met my biological mom. I was adopted. My dad had passed away in 2012, and I met my biological mom in 2013. And me and my mom are like this. She's like my number one supporter. She was, for a while, she worked as my agent. She did all my submissions for me. Her name's Marianne Carey. Hi, Mom. And she, right now, she kind of works as my publicist. She does a lot of my social media stuff.
Yeah.
And so we had a good bond, a really great bond. And in 2014, she got me enrolled into a concussion study. Because I was just putting it off thinking, I'm superhuman. It's going to go away.
So 2012, 2013, 2014, you're transitioning from wrestling into acting.
Right.
You find yourself getting thrown out of the ring,
Right.
and you're suffering what you think is concussion
Right.
stuff, right?
Right.
And you have a tragedy, a loss of your dad.
Right.
You're reconnect with your mom.
Right.
So everything's come together at once.
Yeah.
And then you sign up for this concussion protocol study,
Basically,
right?
right. And it was at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center,
Okay.
which is one of the best neurological facilities in the United States. And I had my own personal nurse,
Yeah.
and his name was Steve Benzo, and he was the best. And my doctor, Dr. Okonkwo, who ran this study. So basically what you would do is you would go in on a Monday, you spend the whole week down there, and you'd go in on a Monday, they do a sleep apnea test, which I failed. And then the next day, you would do a facial recognition. So basically they would give you a face and they'd give you two faces. You study the one face and you pick the two out. Then they give you 2 and 4. Then they give you 3 and 6. Then they go up to something like 12 and 50.
Yeah.
And I did horrible, absolutely horrible. And then they did problem solving. So they would give you a math question and they'd time how fast it took you to solve it. It took me to solve one problem, a multiplication problem, 10 minutes to figure it out because I kept trying to think real hard and I'd get these real bad migraines. And I failed that. And then they give you a physical fitness test on balance and coordination and stuff like that. And failed that. And then that afternoon, they pulled me out of the study.
And they're like, so there's something.
Right.
There's
Well,
something going on here.
that one afternoon, or there was a Wednesday afternoon after the problem solving, they do a PET scan and they do a CAT scan. Well, he got the results back on that Thursday afternoon, and they found a softball-sized tumor above my right eye. And what it was doing was it was twisting my brain, pulling on my stem and my nerves and my spine, which was causing me to pass out, causing me to have major headaches, causing me to have all kinds of issues, balance issues, everything. So Thursday, they admitted me into the hospital. Sunday, they had major brain surgery.
Yeah, wow.
And that was December the 11th. December 14th, I was home. January 1st, I was back in the gym working out. And that was all based on my physical conditioning, eating right, and probably saying a few prayers to the big man upstairs.
Yeah.
But during that whole time, my biological mom, that I only knew for a year and a half, was by my side. Spent the night in the hotel or the hospital room, stayed with my aunt and my cousins in Pittsburgh, showed up at the hospital every day. Now, I was having symptoms where one day I was Mr. Pleasant, the next day I was Mr. Prick.
Gotcha.
You know, and she took a lot of abuse because I would tell her to get out of the room. I didn't want to see her. Now, did I know what I was doing? But basically the tumor was in my emotional anger, happiness, whatever. And I remember the day that we got out of the hospital, I was going home and I was so excited to go home. 2 of my buddies drove from Mansfield to Pittsburgh because they were going to drive my car back.
Yeah.
And I was going to ride home with my mom. And I remember that my mom picked up the wrong keys at my cousin's house. And so I had to wait another 20 minutes. And I'm in the middle of a street, in the middle of a neighborhood that I know nobody. And I'm dropping F-bombs and just screaming at the top of my lungs, you know, what's going on? Get that car, I want to go home. you know, da-da. And then all of a sudden, I had a breakdown and I cried the whole way home because I felt like such an ass. Because this lady took a month of her life and put her life on hold so that she could stay with her son that she's only known for a year. And
at a crisis point and recover.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And I treated her that way. She understood the whole thing, but I mean, I was an ass. Bottom line. And so we have developed such a great relationship, and I love my mom to death. She helps me out whenever I can. So we get to that point, and I get back, and then within a month, I'm back in the gym working out. Now, am I lifting heavy weights? No.
Right.
I'm walking laps, walking up and down stairs, but slowly working my way back into getting into the movie stuff, getting back into the training, doing what I love to do. We got to a point where I started doing auditions again. And I went to Cleveland. There was a movie they were shooting in Cleveland called The Wave. They ran out of money, so they shut it all down. But I auditioned, and the casting director said, because they split me open from here to here, across that thick crease in my forehead, and you can't even tell.
Yeah, I can't even see it.
You know, and I'll show you pictures, but it's crazy. And he said, "Oh, you got to leave that scar. It makes you look great." And I said, "Well, I don't think it's going to do much for my social life." But, you know, but it was like, so now everything's starting to move again, and the acting stuff. 2 months later, I got called in to do a movie called Clown Town, which was a great movie. I enjoyed that. I mean, it was fun. It was the first movie that I was actually one of the major players in, and I didn't have any dialogue. So it's always nice because you don't have to study your lines.
You
and
study your lines, and
so it's awesome.
You have the presence, and you have the look, and
exactly. So I met some good people on that. A gentleman by the name of Tom Nagel, a gentleman by the name of Jeff Miller. Now Jeff Miller also produced Axe Giant, so I knew him from before, and he also produced Clown Town, Inoperable. I mean, Jeff Miller has kind of given me a shot and a chance at doing things that I probably wouldn't have gotten if I didn't get to meet the guy, you know?
Yeah.
So I did Clown Town and loved it. I got to work with House. That's basically me and House became really good buddies.
Yeah.
And I know you know David really well.
Yeah.
I did Inoperable because there's a gentleman by the name of Chris Chapman who played the sheriff in Clown Town. He was the director of Inoperable. So I always play the character like in Axe Giant, I was the monster that lived in the cave. In Clown Town, I was the big muscular clown. We carried a machete around. I was the machete clown. In Inoperable, I played the orderly, would drag people down the hallways to torture them inject them and all that kind of stuff. So I always play the bad guy, or which I enjoy because I don't know if this sounds weird, but it comes natural to me. I'm a really nice guy,
and I can't wait to touch base on that. But keep us on this train. After recovering from that major brain surgery, did you go back to wrestling, or
no? It was done.
That was done.
It was
you
done.
got thrown out.
No, I did manage. I managed people because I still wanted to be part of the limelight and be in the wrestling world. So what I would do is I would manage the champion, and I'd be the guy that would throw the chair when the ref wasn't looking, and to my guy, and he would hit him with the chair and stuff like that. So I managed for a while, but then not being in the ring got really frustrating to me because I wanted to get in the ring and I wanted to do the physicality of it.
Yeah.
And so I basically just got out of it.
You're like, okay, so this chapter's closed. You're recovering, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the movie business. Playing the bad guy. Not terribly different from the persona that you had in the ring.
Exactly.
Right? You just in 2020 terms pivoted.
Right.
You pivoted to the movie area. Folks, if you're watching this and you have questions, we're going to stop and take some questions. I know that Beth is probably seeing a few come over as well. Yes.
Don't forget, if you share this.
Oh, if you share this, we're going to. Chris is going to autograph, and we're going to go ahead and send this out. We'll mail this out to the winner. If you share, we're going to put your name in a hat. We're going to draw a winner next week, and then we'll mail this out. And
Facebook on the Tuesday at 7
Yep.
group. You can access it later this week or next week on YouTube. So, and then you'll be able to, whenever you want, go back and any
Sure.
questions that we don't ask,
Sure.
you can address or
Sure.
comments or all your friends.
Awesome.
We've got Ted Klopp.
Sure.
Just gave the tagline for Johnny Paradise. Last nightmare, every woman's dream.
Ted Klopp, it was funny because when I was doing the wrestling, Ted Klopp used to be a local news anchor for sports in the Mansfield area. And he used to do a thing called Klopp's Clips.
Nice.
And he would show like his clips of the week. And we did a thing where he was in the ring before one of the shows doing his Klopp's Clips, and I come in and I grabbed him and I picked him up and slammed him and I started putting the boots to him and saying, I hate Klopp's Clips. But no, Ted's a good buddy. He's a good buddy.
Thanks for joining us.
Dave Duarte says, will you ever be back at ASWA as
No,
manager?
no, I'm completely done with. That's a period of my life that is pretty much done. I can't even really watch wrestling anymore just because
You want to be
I want to be involved. You know, so and since I can't be involved, then I just kind of stay away.
Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. And then Kanda, when you were talking, I don't know if when you were talking about The Rock or when
Sure.
you were talking about Mickey Rourke, she says, but the fight could last for more than 9 weeks while you were talking about it.
Sure.
Back and forth. That was another good question. If you had one thing to change in modern day wrestling, what would you change?
I would go back to the old NWA days where the matches, there was more wrestling and not so much BS, where they get in the ring for 20 minutes. If you watch Monday Night Raw, they did a study one time on Monday Night Raw. That's a 3-hour show. There's 2 hours and 15 minutes of talking and 45 minutes of wrestling.
Yep.
And that's sad because back in the old Georgia Championship days, they used to have, like Ric Flair would come out and do his little promo, but it would be majority of wrestling, and not so much talking, where it's more costumes and gimmicks and characters and talking and not enough wrestling. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that.
So folks, as you're watching this, even if you're not watching it live, you can watch it later, and
Sure.
you shoot our questions, that feeds to us, and
Sure.
we can respond to that. And we're going to continue to pick up our conversation back, and it sounds as though, Beth, did you see any other wrestling or the questions?
Not other wrestling ones, but my brother John wants to know how he shares, and I'm embarrassed that he doesn't know how to do it. John, look in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and you'll see a share button. Actually, it might be on the left-hand corner. I don't know. Either way, bottom corner, and hit share, and it'll
share to your
newsfeed,
link.
and you'll be helping us out, and you'll also get the opportunity to win an autographed photo. All right, you're up.
So this is like a super locomotive as I'm listening to this story, right? And so you got pro wrestling, you get thrown out of the ring, you
Right.
find yourself with a concussion,
Sure.
but likely what happened was it wasn't the concussion that was driving it, was the
Tumor was growing and
Tumor was-
twisting my head and brain and
Boom.
all that stuff.
crazy several years of your life. You
Sure.
find yourself in recovery for the tumor. You find yourself working out again.
Right.
You know you're not going back to active wrestling, and then you pivot over to movies. You play in the Axe, right?
Giant.
Axe Giant, and you're in a giant suit.
Right.
Just because I found myself in different suits. How did you move around in a suit that
The
was
crazy thing about it was when you put this suit in, it was like, you've seen the movie Hellboy.
Yep.
It was a glue down suit.
Yep.
So, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but just bear with me. It was, once you put it on, you don't take it off.
Yeah.
So I had to wear an adult diaper. Because you go to the restroom in the
Yeah.
suit. Bottom line. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about it was 95 degrees those days. So I
sweated
sweat
out, yeah.
so much that I really didn't have to go to the restroom. I drank, they said, the one girl was keeping track. In the 4 days, I drank 22 gallons of Gatorade. in 4 days. And I lost 27 pounds in about a week wearing that suit. Now, once they did with the suit, what they would do during my off time was they'd unzip the back of it, they'd pack me full of ice, and they'd stick me in front of a fan. So here's this big creature leaning over in front of a fan with ice coming out his back. And then the worst part about it is the longer the movie went, they put me in these boots that they had boards on top of boards on top of boards, and they ran screws up through them. Well, the more my weight was on, the more it pushed the boards down, and the screws were starting to go up in the bottom of my feet. So it was hard to walk. So it actually made the monster look that much better, because when I would walk, I'd squint, and I would like crouch down because it was hurt.
Painful.
But like I said, it all came out great. My feet are good and everything's good.
How hard did they lift you in that suit?
About 6 to 7 inches off the ground.
And on top of your head, so you're over 7 foot.
Pretty close.
7 foot tall.
And the suit weighed when I first put it on, the suit was about 62 pounds. But by the time the end of the day and sweating, it was probably about 110. I slept good those nights, though.
That's what a crazy pivot to full-time acting.
Sure.
You play some bad guy roles, right? For a number. So tell us where that picks up.
So we did Clown Town. Well, when I was on set for Captain America, I met a gentleman by the name of Richard Fike. Richard Fike owns Stunt Predators in Madison, Ohio.
Okay.
And it's a stunt group, and every month we meet for Stunt Predators, and we practice things. Like we'll do high falls off top of the building, or we'll do dragging by a car, or we'll practice falling downstairs, or we'll practice fight scenes, or we'll practice certain things like that. So for probably, I would say 4 or 5 years, I've been working with Stunt Predators and going up every month to work with them. Now, being affiliated with Stunt Predators got me some pretty nice gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked on Criminal Activities. I played John Travolta's bodyguard. So for a week, I got to hang out with John Travolta, which was pretty cool. And what a humble guy, because he gave me a lot of advice.
And everything that I've heard about John Travolta is
awesome.
like that is somebody that you could...
He goes to me, we're sitting there, and he goes, how long have you been doing this? And I was sitting there, I said, well, I was a professional wrestler for about 27 years, and then I got into stunts. And so he goes, do you do much acting? And I said, well, not really. I'm more of a stunt guy than I am an actor. And he goes, and I asked him, I said, starting off in the acting world, you do a lot of stuff for free just to get your resume built up. He looked at me and he goes, free? He goes, you did 27 years of professional wrestling. You got 27 years of stunts under your belt. You don't need to do anything for free. Have them put all that on your resume. On your stunt reel. Put some of your pro wrestling stuff. He goes, you did all the free stuff back when you first started the wrestling stuff. He goes, you got a price. You're a known commodity because you did 27 years of choreographed fight scenes in front of thousands of people. He goes, don't let anybody ever take advantage of you. Be firm. Be stern. And if it's not for you, walk away from it, So that was some advice. And then through Stunt Predators, I got to work with Don Cheadle and Ewan McGregor on a movie called Miles Ahead, the Miles Davis story, where I got to do a fight scene with Ewan McGregor. Don Cheadle was the director. And doing that was pretty cool because usually they do a fight scene, they do it over, and they do it over, and they do it over, and then they do another angle, and they do another angle, and over and over. Well, we did 2 shots because basically it was me punching him hitting the floor.
Yeah.
Afterwards, Don Cheadle came up, gave me a hug, said, you know what, we nailed it on the first one. We don't need to do any more. You just saved me about $3,000 in time and effort and in film. He goes, so that was great. So then when I went back to the hotel, I walked through and Ewan McGregor was sitting there and they were sitting at the bar and they asked me to join them. So I got to sit and hang out with Don Cheadle and Ewan McGregor, which are 2 A-listers.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of humbling. I've got to work with Zac Efron, which was cool because I was on...
You were in High School Musical?
No. Oh. Not High School Musical. I was in Extremely Wicked and Shockingly Vile, the Ted Bundy story. I played a stunt bailiff.
Okay.
So there was a Utah scene where they arrest him. I go up and I handcuff him and I drag him into the back. The cool thing was I went up before, and being in the wrestling world, I'm not a great friend, but I knew Dwayne Johnson. And they just got done doing Baywatch. So I said to him, hey, we got a common friend.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, who's that? And I'm like, Dwayne Johnson. I said, I used to be a professional wrestler with him back in the day. And he goes, really? He goes, that's awesome. So we did a rehearsal right before lunch, and he comes up to me and he goes, hey, will you eat lunch with me? He goes, I want to talk about the stunt scene. And I said, sure, no problem. I'm going to turn Zac Efron down, you know? So we went to lunch, and we're sitting there, and all the other people from the greater Cincinnati area, they were actor friends of mine, are like, how in the hell is he getting to eat with Zac Efron? And all he wanted to do was talk about pro wrestling, because he's a big pro wrestling fan. Big pro wrestling fan. So all we did was, for lunch, is talk about pro wrestling. And it was great, because I'm sitting across from Zac Efron, who is, he's every woman's, or every man's nightmare, every woman's dream.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Everybody loves
Right
Zac
there.
Efron. So that was a great experience. I've got to work with, criminy, Bruce Willis in Act of Violence, which was about underground sex trafficking. And it goes on and on and on. And I just got back from, in February, before the pandemic started, I worked on a movie called Red Notice with Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds. And I'm good buddies with Tanoia Reed, which is The Rock's stunt double. And he's the one that got me on, because it's a Russian prison movie, and I look like a Russian prison guard. So they brought me down. But it was cool, because I was sitting there eating with Tanoia, and Tanoia is one of the most humble guys you ever meet. And Dwayne Johnson comes in and sits down, because they're cousins.
Yep.
And he goes, hey, Tanoia, what's going on? And all this stuff. And he goes, hey, you know this guy? And he goes, no. He goes, this is my buddy Chris. Chris used to be a wrestler back in the day, when you were back in the day. Now, I said, no, I wasn't anywhere close to what you were. And he goes, it doesn't matter, we're still part of the family. And he gave me a handshake and kind of like a pat on the back.
Nice.
And it was so cool, and it was so humbling to see guys that are that big in the business that are just real humble guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they take appreciation for where they came from, you know, and what they're doing, you know. And I mean, Dwayne Johnson on set, he'll go around to every actor, shake their hand, and thank them for being there and putting in the time and the effort to make his movies great.
It's an amazing.
That's the kind of actor I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be the kind of guy that I'm approachable. I don't want to be the prick that knows everything.
Yeah.
Because I don't. I don't know. I'm learning every day. Every day.
Right.
So from that point, I did the Inoperable movie, and then I've done some other projects. Like I did a project for a lady by the name of Maggie Shea. Maggie Shea wrote a book called Embrace the Twilight, which is a New York bestseller book, and we shot it right here in the Akron area.
Which is coming out in 21, right?
It's coming out this
year.
They're hoping to get it out this year. And I play a character by the name of Frank Stiles. Frank Stiles is a real SOB. And Al Tuscan did my special effects makeup.
I saw that.
Where half of me is burnt up, so I'm all burnt. And what I do is I go around and I capture the vampires, I drain them of all their blood and put it into my body so I have eternal life. And I am kind of what I say goes, and nobody double crosses me and all this and that, which I love that part. You know, I mean, it's just fun to, I would rather go and be involved for 12 hours on a movie set than to be involved with 1 hour and sit in holding for 11 hours.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
For sure.
You know?
For sure. Hey, Beth, do me a favor.
What?
Could you plug that in? Because I'm not sure they got a full charge, and I am so excited about this interview. And
Don't want to take any chances.
don't take any chances of running out of juice. If folks have questions, we're going to get to those questions here before too long.
I was just looking for the info about Bruce the Twilight.
Oops.
I got it.
Cast it or
Um,
try to put a link to it.
Yeah, so we'll link movies,
Sure.
things right to this interview so people can
Sure.
get to that themselves. You play you find yourself often playing the villain, right?
Right.
And you know, the bad guys in this. But knowing some of the things that you do outside of
Sure.
your bad guy stuff, that's
Sure.
not who you are
No,
at all.
not by any means.
So I want to come back to the acting thing, but tell me a few of those things about you know, some of the philanthropic things that you do in the past that you're currently involved in? Because
Sure.
that's some amazing
Sure.
work.
Well,
too.
I'm a personal trainer by trade.
Okay.
I've been a personal trainer at the Mansfield local YMCA for about 16 years now. And fitness, not fashion, but fitness is my passion. I love fitness. I'm all about helping people out, try to get in shape, trying to live a healthy lifestyle. I also work through Crawford County courts. I work with nonviolent drug offenders. I've got 7 guys right now. They've either had issues with heroin, they've had issues with crystal meth, they've had issues with opioids and prescription pills. And basically what I do with them is, and it's been about 1.5 to 2 years now, I am kind of like a fitness life coach for them. So basically what they do is they have no access to the courts, the judge and stuff. They all go through me or in their parole officer. What they do is they come over for an hour a day to an hour and a half. We work out. They built me a gym. It's a plush gym. And we work out for about an hour to an hour and a half. We talk about what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
We talk about eating right. We talk about living a healthy lifestyle and making the right decisions in life.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got 7 guys. The whole program consists of physical fitness, learning a healthy lifestyle, getting your high school diploma or a 2-year college skill trade, and job placing you. Because a lot of times felons have a tough time. I've got 2 guys right now that are, the one was a 10-year heroin addict. The other was a 2-year crystal meth. They both got they got their GEDs while they've been with me, and they got a 6-month college or skill trade. One got it in welding, the other got it in plumbing. The one welder makes $27 an hour and full benefits. The plumber just got a new job. He's starting off at $21 an hour. He's got to work 6 months. He gets benefits. A felon can't really find that job.
Yeah, yeah.
So we work through Columbus State University on a job placement program. So basically, what we do is we work with Pioneer Joint Vocational School to get them their GEDs. So they get their high school diplomas or their GEDs. And once they do that, we give them the option. And when they go through the skill trade program, basically what it is we place them with an employer who's a journeyman so they can get their apprenticeship. They work for 1.5 years under them. They don't have to go to a classroom. It's on the job training.
Yeah.
Their employer is their professor. So basically he comes back and says after 2 years, if this kid is good or not, fire him, whatever. And after 2 years, if he is, then they give him their journeyman's card. And a journeyman in the welding and in the plumbing can make up to $45 an hour, you know. And so our program was designed by a gentleman by the name of Shane Luholt, who's the common pleas judge in Crawford County. And what he did was, and the taxpayers pay for nothing. What he did was for 5 to 6 years, he took $150 out of every speeding violation, traffic violation, and put it in a special fund. And he raised so much money that he can fund a men's program and a women's program. Now, we pick and choose because we don't want to bring in bad apples that are going to ruin the bunch. We want to pick somebody out of the 30, 40 people that we interview that wants to help, because you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves.
Right.
You know? So we want to find out someone who wants to get to college, who's made mistakes, who has kids, who wants to get back with their kids. We try to get their lifestyle structured so they can be productive in life.
And that's an amazing thing as you're kind of stepping in and you're taking these folks that are at those crossroads, right?
And basically what I use is I also use my movie and my pro wrestling as a gadget to say, I came from a small town in Lexington. You come from a small town in either Galion, Ohio or Bucyrus, Ohio or wherever. I was in the World Wrestling Federation on and off for about 9 years. Now I'm making movies with Zac Efron. You can do whatever you want if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
You got the heart, the desire, and the passion, and you're ready to sacrifice. I mean, rather than going out to the bar and drinking a beer, get some sleep, get up early in the morning. Like my workout routine is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm in the gym by 5, and I work out with my my girlfriend. She's the best. Her name's Beth. Hi, Beth. we work out for an hour and a half. We do cardio and abs. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, she trains with me. And so we just bought a house together, and eventually, probably by the end of the year, we're going to get engaged, and next year we're going to get married. And she supports me 100. I got a great support group. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
In order to make it in the acting world, business world, wherever, you have to have a great support group and a positive influence around you. Gary Jones, who's a director buddy of mine, he supports me 110%. He puts me in his movies. Whenever I have to do a movie audition, he'll come over and videotape it for me. He wants to see me make it, so he helps me out. Carlos, my manager, he lives in Texas. Carlos I talk to him almost every day. He calls me to make sure that I'm all right, especially during all this pandemic stuff.
Yeah.
We work together great. I've only actually met him 2 or 3 times face to face, but we talk so much on the phone. I'm represented in Ohio by a company by the name of PCG Talent out of Columbus. Joanna, who is my agent down there, she's sending me emails all the time, making sure things are going well, making sure that I'm online, watching videos and doing some studies. I mean, I take some online classes, acting classes online. There's a thing called Master Class, and you can watch like Tom Hanks, and he talks about certain things that he's done when he first started off and stuff. And that's how you learn.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you learn. My agent, I got an agent in New Mexico, Peter Yankee. Phenomenal. He submits me for everything. Now, do I get everything? No. Do I fit the breakdown for everything? No. I'm a little rough around the edges. I'm a little, I don't fit every breakdown in the world. But he submits me anyway, because you never know. When they see my picture, they may say, hey, let's go in this different direction. Maybe this guy might fit it better. So Peter Yankee's awesome. Carlos is awesome. Joanna's awesome. My mom, 100% support. She's if I start to slack, she's up my rear end like you wouldn't believe. Beth DeBellis, who's my girlfriend and my, I would say she's kind of like my soulmate, because she pushes me where if I get a small project that I'm thinking, I don't want to do this, she goes, do the audition. It's practice. It's always better to do it and learn from it than it is just to let it go. She goes, you're no bigger than anybody else. You know, you got to start somewhere and make something. And you just never know. So I got and Gary Jones, and there's a gentleman by the name of Phil Garrett who works for an editing company. He does my stunt reels. He does my acting reels. He's the best. So I got a great support group, and all my friends, you know, I mean, I got my friends. And whenever I do a movie, like we worked on this movie called Escape from Death Block 13. Now on the movie, I was the bad guy, the stunt coordinator, an associate producer, the handler for Robert Kovacs, which we'll talk about a little bit. I helped with casting. I helped with a little bit with catering, but it was great, even though I wore all those hats and I didn't get paid for all those hats because it was low budget. I learned a lot. And I got yelled at certain times, but when I get yelled at, it sticks in my brain a lot better if someone comes up and says, you know what, you should have done it this way. If someone says, come on, Chris, you wasted 45 minutes of my time because you did it this way when you could have done it this way and it would only taken you 15 minutes. I'll remember that more than I'll remember somebody, you know, being really nice to me. You know? So I'm like you, we talked a little bit beforehand. I would rather have more bullets in the chamber and know what goes on, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera, so I can adapt and I can relate to what's going on, than I would if it was just a stuntman or if I was just an actor. You know?
So folks, if you share this video, you might be tuning in now. We're with Chris Hahn. He's an actor with stunt abilities. He's a former pro wrestler. If you share this video out, you get the opportunity to win some signed autographed stills of Chris. For those who want to ask some questions, Beth, are there any questions? And then we'll go back to see what you're working on now and what's going to be coming on here in the next bit of time.
Well, I had a question I know someone had asked earlier too. So if you've got someone who's interested in stunt work but doesn't have the pro wrestling is to translate over. But if you've got someone who doesn't have that experience, what would be the best way for them, other than just I've got muscles.
There are a lot of what they call stunt workshops that you can go to. Some of them are free, some of them you have to pay for. There's guys out there like Garrett Warren who did Avatar, J.J. Perry who's done all the Fast and the Furious. They run workshops, and basically you'll pay maybe $100 for the day, and you go in and you listen to them talk about what it's like being a stuntman, what it's like being a stunt coordinator, and then you'll partner up, and then they'll show you different camera angles of throwing punches and how the camera can pick this up, even though there might be that much distance between the chin that you punch. If you get the camera from a different angle, you won't see the distance, and then the guy sells it, you know? So in order to be a stunt guy, it's not just you got to be physical. There's a psychology to it. So I would go online and I would Google stunt workshops in the Midwest. And I know there's a guy by the name of Eddie Fernandez out of Chicago who does Chicago PD, Chicago MD, and stuff like that. He's a stunt coordinator on those shows. And I think he throws workshops every now and then.
Do they provide accreditation? Because I would imagine there's
Oh yeah, those guys are all the
people out there
right.
that are doing
No,
this.
you
do they
can
know?
basically what you would do is you would look them up, and then you go to IMDb and you would type up J.J. Perry. J.J. Perry's done the Gemini Man, all the Fast and the Furious. He does all the rock stuff. J.J. Perry's probably Garrett Warren, Stuart Wilson. Stuart Wilson also works as Bruce Willis's stunt double, but he also does a lot of stunt. Rick Fike's here in Ohio. He runs workshops. A lot of them you have to be invited to, but you could come up and sit in and see what it's like around the other areas. There's a guy by the name of Ely Brada out of Michigan. He does a lot. He did White Boy Rick. He was the stunt coordinator on White Boy Rick. So Google stunt workshops in the Midwest or stunt workshops on the East Coast. Chris Barnes is out of New York. He does Billions. He did Escape from Dannemora, which was a movie I worked on with Ben Stiller was the director. And we spent 5 days rehearsing fight scenes. And then we did a 12-hour fight scene in a prison yard. It was whites against blacks in a racial fight. I played the Aryan Brother, one of the leaders of the Aryan Brotherhood. And it was great. And a lot of it is networking. All the guys that were from New York that came down to work on the Dannemora show, I got all their names and addresses. And even if I'm not doing anything with them, I touch base with them once a month just to see what's going on. So I keep them fresh in your mind. It's all about networking. If there's anything in the business of movies and stunts that's more important than anything, it's networking. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, you might not be able to throw a punch. You can always learn to throw a punch. But if a stunt coordinator doesn't know you, he ain't gonna use you.
Sure.
You know?
Another great nugget of information, right? To network and
network.
Yeah, network strong.
See, it was funny because my buddy is a real estate agent in Atlanta, and his name's Steve Boyce, and I went to school with the guy. So I stay in contact with him every now and then, and when I go to Atlanta, I stay with him. Well, he calls me up, and he says, hey, he works in a big condo complex, and he sells condominiums. He goes, hey, you'll never guess who moved in next door to me. And I'm like, well, who's that? He goes, Tanoia Reed in The Rock. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, you need to get down here because I'll introduce you to him. And so with me and my buddy Norm Malott, who lives up in Cleveland, he's like one of my best friends in the stunt business. Storm and Norman is what they call him. We went down and we met Tanoia because The Rock was on set. And I said, hey, Tanoia, you don't mind if we kind of pick your brain? He sat with us for 2.5 hours, picked his brain, and then he goes, if you ever have any questions, email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you're on set and you have a question about something, email me, let me know. And I'll tell you what I would do. I can't tell you what to do, but I'll tell you what I will do. And from that point on, I stayed in contact with him. He's the one that got me on Red Notice. And I went down there and I worked for a week and I played a Russian prison guard. It was great. So when I went down there, I met all the Atlanta stunt guys and I got all their names. And like Dan Norris and Spencer Milligan and all those guys. And I stay in contact with them. And if they ever see something that comes up, hey, the stunt coordinator's looking for a 6'2" bald-headed guy who's muscled up. You want to come down, send him your stunt reel. Here's his email. So we all look out for it. It's a community of networking where you scratch my back, I scratch yours. A buddy of mine, Danny Mays, Danny Mays worked on, he was the stunt coordinator on Cherry. And we're good friends. There's a movie out in LA that's going to happen next year. It's called The Longshoreman. And right now they're working on getting a director, but they want a big name director. And the lady who runs it, her name's Ellen Wing, and she's a sweetheart. Hello, Ellen. And I know she's watching because she said she was going to watch. She casted me based on my look. My look, the Longshoreman is based on the Longshore Union on the West Coast. And her dad used to be the union president. So it's based on her father. So she's got creative control of the whole picture. Now, I'm not going to give any of it away, but she calls me up and she says, I want you to play a character by the name of Big Steve. You look exactly like Big Steve. Big Steve was her dad's muscle. And then we kind of collaborated a little bit. And she goes, I see you're in the stunt business. You got any stunt guys or stuntmen coordinators that might be great? And so I gave him a few, Rick Fike, Danny Mays, and she contacted him. And she picked Danny Mays, who's a buddy of mine from Atlanta. And, you know, it's all about how you come off to somebody. If you treat someone with respect, they're going to treat you with respect. If you treat someone like a piece of crap, they're going to treat you like a piece of crap. So it's the old saying that they say, treat those how you want to be treated. Right. I want to be treated like a good person, so I'm going to treat somebody. Now, I have my times. Don't get me wrong. I have my times where I may be in a bad mood and you hit me at the wrong spot. But that's what I'm doing. And like I said, I try to network. And I get on Facebook and I like every stunt guy that comes across my page, even if I don't know him, I friend request him. And then I also will send a thank you for your friendship. And then starts conversation back and forth. And then when I went to Orlando to try out for a pro wrestling movie, and there was 42 stunt guys. 17 of the stunt guys knew me from Facebook. They didn't know me in person. They knew me from Facebook because we were friends on Facebook. So we all got together and we chatted a little bit and stuff like that, and I stay in contact with all of them. And it's all about networking. If you're gonna succeed in the movie business, it's about getting your stuff out there and showing people what you can do and what you can't do. There's a lot of things that I can't do. I'm a good fighter. Don't catch me on fire because that freaks me out. I'm not good in water. I can drive, but I can't flip a car. Don't ever go on set saying you can do something and you can't do it, because then when they ask you to do it and you can't do it or do it wrong and you cost productions thousands and thousands of dollars or hurt someone, and then that gives that stunt coordinator a bad name, you're not going to work for that guy again. So you got to be choosy about what you can do. I can fall off a building as long as it's not 40,000 feet in the air. I can do a fight scene. I can get dragged down the street by a car. I can do all that stuff. I can fall down a flight of stairs. I can shoot a gun. I can do a nice scene. I can get killed. I can do all that stuff. Catch me on fire, I stay away from that. You know, tell me to flip a car, no way. I don't know how to do that. Throw me in water and tell me to do a fight scene. I'm not a water guy. You know, I sink. Even though I got a big head and you can use it as a flotation device. But no, you gotta pick and choose your battles, you know?
You gotta figure out what your strengths are.
Right.
So that is great advice. And if you guys have been listening, we heard some great advice from John Travolta.
Mm-hmm.
There was some great advice from Chris Hahn. Tell us, so bring us up to 2020, 2021, because you've got projects, you got some stuff in the can ready to release.
Sure.
As a pandemic hit, you were on set and had it be dropped back. And
in February, I went down and I worked for a week on a movie called Red Notice. Red Notice is about a Russian prison escape buddy movie.
Okay.
Ryan Reynolds, Dwayne Johnson. And I got to play a Russian prison guard. And we do a scene where we shoot at the helicopter, and we do a scene where I unload a big bazooka gun and shoot that off and stuff. And it was a blast. Now, they were supposed to go to Spain and finish the movie. But from what I understand, Spain shut their borders down during the pandemic. So now they're building sets and they're going to finish it in Atlanta. So keeping my fingers crossed, I hope I get to go back down to Atlanta and finish working on that movie. That'd be awesome.
And again, that was called?
That's called Red Notice.
Red Notice.
And it's going to be on Netflix. They wanted to release it early 2021. I would imagine it's going to get pushed back. Now, I also worked on a movie called The Fred Hampton Project. And now it's called Judas is My Messiah. And basically it's about the Black Panther rights movements in Cleveland back, if I'm not mistaken, was it the 60s or the 70s? Something like
Right.
that. I play a prison guard in a prison guard scene. It's a stunt scene. It's kind of a racially tensioned scene. I won't get into it too much, but it's a stunt scene. It's a pretty decent scene. It's a very strong and it's a very emotional scene. So I would imagine it didn't get cut and put on the floor. I would imagine it's going to be in the movie. I did some stunt driving, which is ND driving, for the movie Cherry, which was shot in Cleveland. And that is done, but I think they're going to wait till theaters open up because I think it's a Russo brother movie. Yeah. And Russo brother movies usually don't go to DVD. They usually go to the big theater. So I would imagine they're going to wait till the theater opens up. The movie that I had the most fun on is Wrong Turn, The Foundation.
Oh, it shot down in Cincinnati and Columbus?
Cincinnati and Columbus.
Yeah.
Now I play a character by the name of Samuel. I won't say any more except for he's one of the inbred hillbillies that lives in the woods. That was one of my favorites. And I appreciate TJ White, who's the stunt coordinator on it, brought me in. I was down there for a week, had the time of my life. My buddy Dave Hutchinson, which is a little story about my buddy Dave Hutchinson. Dave Hutchinson is a stunt guy out in LA, and I played football against him in high school. And when I got out of the wrestling and got into the acting, Dave's the one that told me, you need to be a stunt guy. You did 20 some years of stunt work already. You need to be a stunt guy. And so that's when I met Rick Fike after he told me this and that. Because when I went on Captain America the Winter Soldier, I asked who the stunt coordinator is. I went up to the stunt coordinator. I gave him a business card and I told him that I'd love to be a stunt guy. Then I kind of told him my background. He invited me to his workshop. I kind of tried out for him and the rest has been great. Yeah. So I got to give a big shout out and a big thanks to my buddy Dave Hutchinson because in the stunt world, he's kind of like my mentor. He's the one that got me booked on Wrong Turn because they were looking for a character that was big and not anonymous. And so he recommended me. And you know how it is in Ohio, when they want to use the tax incentive, they need to hire local to get tax incentives. So TJ White, I thank you. Dave Hutchinson, I thank you. Wrong Turn is going to be spectacular. I think you guys are all going to like it.
I was invited as a featured extra on that. I
Really?
couldn't make it. I had my regular day job, but at any rate,
But no,
It was the beard.
it was the beard.
it was
huh?
a beard.
Because it's Appalachian.
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
And it was crazy, but I think you would have had a good time. It was fun.
I can't wait to see that. No, we don't know. We don't have a release date or
It's done.
it's done.
But I don't know if they're in negotiations with Netflix or what. All I know is that it's done. I saw a Facebook posting that it was done. Yeah. Michael Nelson, who's the director, I sent him, asking him if I could bring it up a little bit on this interview. He said, just don't tell too much. I said, no problem.
Got it.
I checked out everybody and just asked them if I could bring it up.
Yeah.
Now, the Embrace the Twilight, which we talked about already, Carlos Dunn, who is the director of Embrace the Twilight, passed away 2 days after it finished.
Oh,
he had cancer.
no.
And through the whole shooting of the movie, he suffered with cancer. Now, what kind of cancer it was, I don't know because he kind of kept it private. But 2 days after, this was his passion project. 2 days after he completed shooting, he passed away. So God bless Carlos Dunn. I say a prayer out to him because he was a great guy. And this was the actual first movie that I really actually had a lot of dialogue in. So he worked with me because doing stunts and doing dialogue are two different things.
Yeah.
You understand that being in the
Exactly.
acting world. Now, the movie that I think is going to set everything off for my career is Escape from Death Block 13. And if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you've seen the pictures. There's a gentleman in the movie called, his name's Robert Kovacs, looks exactly like Charles Bronson. I mean, it's freaky.
Freaky.
I mean, you look on those pictures and you think that there's makeup work done. No makeup work. The guy looks exactly like Charles Bronson. And I play the prison bully, kind of the loudmouth bully, kind of the prison Johnny Paradise, basically. The director, Gary Jones, who's a really good friend of mine, basically wrote all the dialogue as what Johnny Paradise would say in the ring. So it was very easy for me to do.
Nice, nice.
And it's an action movie. It's all action, all escaping through prison walls, tunnels, fight scenes, you know, and it's a bully movie, and I'm not going to give much of it away, but I think it's the movie that's going to make my career kind of skyrocket a little bit, because I'm a supporting actor in it, but I'm in it longer than the actual lead actor is. I've got more actual airtime in it, but I'm just a first-class brick. Excuse my language.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a lot coming up. So you've got to be excited, because you're like, oh, this stuff's coming out.
In the next couple of months.
Premieres and...
The only thing that I'm worried about is with the Black rights movement going on and them bringing that movie out and my scene...
The timing of it, you're like that. You were playing a role.
Right, I was playing a role, but you know as well
yeah.
as I do, a lot of people don't look at it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And so I'm a little worried about that, because I'm worried about the people that I associate myself with, and I don't want them to catch any grief from it.
Yeah.
But besides that, that's what I've got coming out. I've got a couple projects lined up to go. I got one called The Legend of Johnny Jones, where I'm going to play a SWAT man who's tracking down a serial killer. And the guy's name that's directing that and producing that is Matt Clark. Great guy. They're going to shoot that in the Atlanta area. His name was Jason. Is a fan-based Friday the 13th movie. And I'm going to stunt double Jason Voorhees, which will be huge on my IMDb.
Nice.
You know, so I'm excited about that. There's a movie called Tamara Buys a Car, and it's about underground sex trafficking, and they use a car lot to transport underground sex trafficking, and I play the muscle in the movie, so I'm excited about that. And then I've got one that I have an audition for on Friday night, about 9 o'clock or so, and it's a DC comic. I can't really go into it too much, but the character I play is a real SOB. So, you know, the sad thing about it is I sit there and I laugh and I tell you, but I feel more comfortable playing those. You'll never see me in a movie like The Notebook. You'll never see me.
No.
You know, you'll never see me in a movie like Benjamin Buttons. It's a heartwarming. I'm more of an action, in your face
cut.
Yeah, something like that. That's the kind of things that I want to portray.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
in my career.
Well, I'll tell you what, you do it well, because I've seen some of the movies you've been in, and I'm excited to see some of these movies coming up. If anybody has any questions, feel free to pose those to us. And we appreciate you driving up here from Mansfield
I appreciate you having
to
me.
sit in our living room and talk about your journey, because it's an exciting one.
Sure.
This has felt like put the pedal metal, yeah, and then go like 100 miles an hour for over an hour, and it's been exciting. And
now,
we
you can also friend me on JP Hahn, that's my Facebook site. Chris Hahn Actor with Stunt Abilities, which is my talent page site. And then on Instagram, CH Stuntman, that's my Instagram page. And like I said, I'm not one of those people, if you message me or make a comment, I always reply back. I guess I know how it feels to be that person that stands in line because he wants to meet Ric Flair, and when Ric Flair walks by, he doesn't shake your hand or say hi or anything like that, and you feel like, oh, that was a waste of my time. If you're going, people out there that watch my movies are the ones that allow me to get paid for my movies. So the least thing I can do is take 5 minutes out of my day to make sure that person enjoyed my movies, or just be friendly to them. You know, I mean, how hard is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you've heard it from Chris Hahn. If you share, he'll be dropping some Sharpie autographs on these photos. We'll draw a name out and we'll send these out next week. It's if you are tuning in, this thing will be available to rewatch, so you'll be able to go back if you missed the beginning. And again, if you have any questions, if you just pose those questions right in the comments, even if it's not live, it'll provide an opportunity.
Do we have time for a few questions, if there is any?
Is it? Yeah. But Bessie, if there's any questions?
Norman Marold asked if Good Work is going to be released.
Ha! That's my buddy Norm. My buddy Norm is a jokester. Love him to death. He's probably my best friend in the acting business. I talk to him probably every day. He lives in Cleveland, and we travel around together and stuff like that. Norm, Alice Michaels, you're getting the special uncut edition just for you, buddy.
David Duarte had asked, did you ever cross paths with Jim Cornette?
Yes. Jim Cornette, when I actually was doing the WWF stuff, Jim Cornette was the booker that used to book the independent talent. So when I would go up and work for the WWF, Jim Cornette's the one that would call me and say, hey, we're going to be in Cleveland, Cincinnati, or Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. Can we use you for 3 days? So yeah, Jim Cornette's a great guy. So I ran across him plenty of times. We're good friends.
That's fun. Stephanie Wells says, who made the mask you wore on Funhouse Massacre?
Oh, we forgot about Funhouse Massacre.
Yeah, go ahead, jump in.
Funhouse Massacre was a movie by Andy Palmer. Andy Palmer, and I'm so sorry, Andy. This was one of the funnest movies because House did special effects makeup on that. Funhouse Massacre, House and David Greathouse did the mask and did the special effects makeup on that. But Funhouse Massacre had Burns, Jerry Burns. It had Robert Englund, and basically what it was these 5 serial killers escape from an insane asylum and take over a fun house where I played a character that was playing one of the insane guys in the insane asylum. And basically he comes out and he rips my face off and then wears it around as a mask the whole movie. And I was on set down there for 3 days. I had my neck broken, all that's the good stuff. And I feel so bad that I forgot about that, but that was one of the funnest movies I've ever worked on. And my buddy Rick Fike, he was the stunt coordinator on it. So all of us in our stunt group, we got work on that, which was great because it was an LA production that came in, so we got to work right hand in hand with the LA talent and stuff. And being in Ohio does a lot of movies, but the sad thing about Ohio is we have no principal casting agents in Ohio. Oh. Everything in Ohio basically is background extra. So they cast all the main talent in LA and then bring them here, and then all the scraps they throw out to the Ohio people. Well, we're trying to change that, you know? If you're gonna benefit from our tax incentive, I think you need to hire some of our principal actors in the Ohio area, and there's plenty of good ones in the Ohio area to star in some of these movies. I mean, I understand if you're going to get a Tom Cruise, that's one thing. There's no Tom Cruise in Ohio. But to play Tom Cruise's wife and be in maybe 30 minutes of the movie, you can hire somebody in Ohio to play that. Yeah. There's plenty of good actors in the Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus area, Youngstown, And, the stunt people, they shot, the thing that really hurt my feelings, and this really bothered me, I still haven't watched it, was they did Escape Plan 3. The Extractors, and it had 50 Cent, Dave DeBattista, and Stallone in it. And the stunt coordinator brought in all the stunt guys from LA, but he brought Rick Fike's stunt team down to try out. Now, I live right around the corner from the prison, and I drive by there every day seeing those stunt guys pull in there, and I'm sitting there thinking, you could have saved money on a car, a flight, meals, and lodging, which is for 28 days, that's probably almost $10,000 a person. Now you have 40 stunt guys at $10,000. That's $40,000 of your budget that you're just paying on stunt guys. When you had plenty of them that were just as capable of throwing a punch, throwing a kick, and falling off a ledge, and it just doesn't make any sense. But hopefully, the new president of our Cleveland. The Film Commission, the Film Commission guy is going to put a change to that. I hope, So
great thing to put on the wish list.
Mm-hmm.
It's logical. It just makes sense to do that.
I mean, a lot of it, what happens is and they bring in all these guys, and then they use Ohio addresses so they can benefit from the tax incentive. Now, Escape Plan 3 got caught, so they didn't get any of the tax incentive money. And they got pissed. But hey, it serves them right. There's plenty of capable people in Ohio.
Use Ohio.
Exactly.
Use Ohio.
You're going to use our money. you might as well use our talent.
Exactly.
You know, and it's not like there's not plenty of talent in this town, in this state. You know, and then Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. There's a lot of talent in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of talent in Philadelphia. You know, Philadelphia's only a 7-hour drive. You know, but like I said, it sounds like I've got spoiled grapes or whatever you say.
Moving the needle, though, right? I mean, you're moving the needle. You're posing the
right.
topic.
But hey, it is what it is. That's my favorite saying. It is what it is.
What else we got there, Beth?
Somebody had said, Tom Klein
Yep.
said, thanks for getting me into Escape from Death Block 13.
Yes.
What a thrill that was.
Awesome. Good. Yeah. So I casted a bunch of my buddies. When they needed some stunt guys that were, because it was a non-union movie, I brought in some of my pro wrestling buddies. And I brought in some of my other buddies to be
Nice.
featured extras and stuff like that. Because
Network.
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But the thing about it is, you get a guy who has done thousands and thousands and thousands of extra work. He doesn't come in there enthusiastic because he's done it before.
Yeah.
Where Tommy Klein, it's the first time he's ever been on a set. He was excited. He put in 110% and gave everything he got. And I would rather have that, even if he is just an extra, featured extra in it, because it makes the movie that much, it raises the bar a little bit, and everybody else around him is just that motivated and just that excited, you know?
For sure.
The only other question, and you had been talking about Dwayne Johnson earlier, but John asked, who's the best actor you met in person and why?
The best actor I've met in person, Don Cheadle.
Oh, he's a good one.
Don Cheadle, because you watch some of the movies.
Oh, he has a.
I mean, he
range,
played that
doesn't he?
movie where he was a terrorist. And, you know, I mean, you have to. Ewan McGregor's a pretty good actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets emotional and gets involved. And he can play different things because he was in Birds of Prey. And then he was, he's been in some other movies. So he can vary from an exciting action movie to a heartwarming movie where someone like me, I don't think I could do that. You know, I don't think I'm built like that. But John Travolta is a great actor. And John Travolta was probably the most humble guy I met.
Really?
Yeah, he was really down to earth because he was very approachable.
Wow.
You know, and Zac Efron acting wise, Zac Efron's a pretty good actor. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he could sell his part. So, you know, I guess you could say, in the wrestling world, in the acting world, I've been blessed because I've been surrounded by some pretty amazing people. My support group, I've been blessed because I got people that surround me, that push me, that want to see me succeed. You know, and there's a lot of people out there that want to see you fail. There's a lot of people out there that sit there and laugh at you and say, "Oh, you want to be an actor? That's foolish. You'll never make it. You'll never make it." But then when I'm on set handcuffing Zac Efron and dragging him in the back, who has the last laugh? You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been pretty blessed. My career is not over by any means, but if I would pass away tomorrow, which I hope I don't, I'd be a happy camper.
Yeah.
Because I got to work with some amazing people, and I've got to surround myself with some amazing people.
Gotcha.
You know.
Well, thank you for sharing your story.
No, thank
This
you.
has been exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching, whether you're live or you're recorded.
Right.
Again, get in contact with you by social media. which
Social
we talked
media.
about. Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, on my social media, my email's on there. So feel free to, if you need to email me. Just don't call me at 2:30 in the morning breathing heavy. I get that a lot already, but I'm just kidding you. And I'd like to make a special thanks to my agent Carlos, or my manager Carlos, my agent Joanna from PCG Talent, Peter Yankee from Fargun Mar Talent Agency in New Mexico, my lovely mother for being my backbone and my support, Gary Jones, Phil Garrett for everything that they do, because they do a lot for me. And then my soulmate, Beth DeBellis, I love you, and I will be home soon.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next week.